All right, I am joined now by my next guest, Denny McCarthy. Of course, he's been on the PGA Tour. This is his fourth full season on the PGA Tour, and man, he has a two-time All-American at UVA, went to Virginia, two-time Maryland Amateur winner, three-time Maryland Open winner, Junior Ryder Cup. He was on the Walker Cup team as well. Denny, what's going on with you? We're starting the playoffs, but how's it going here in New York for you?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk a little bit about golf and Maryland, and it's been kind of a crazy year. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but thankfully I'm feeling good about my game. So we'll see if I can make a little push in the playoffs. I've thrown out this little playoff beard to give me a little good mojo here the last week and this week, and hopefully continue it into the next few weeks. So games rounding into some nice form, and look forward to competing this week.
Yeah, well, no, like you mentioned that playoff beard. The playoffs is a big step for if you're trying to get ahead in your career. For you, are there any superstitions that you're going to resort to or that you're going to work on? Any X factor you can pull out here?
No, I don't know if there's an X factor. I think, one thing that helps is that I played this place, a few years ago. The first playoff event, Northern Trust, was here in 2019. So, that was I want to say I played 7 weeks in a row to end my year, and this was my 8th week in a row. So I was really burnt out by the time I got here a few years ago, but I had a few weeks off recently and played last week and played nicely. And so now I'm coming into this week somewhat fresh. Haven't played some tournament rounds at this place, played another 18 today. So got a really good look at the course. The course is in great shape. Greens are really good. Fairways are tight. The rough isn't too bad, but it was a little windy today, and you just gotta step up and hit a lot of golf shots and golf your ball around this place. So I think it helps that I've been here before. Just the whole logistics of just being around, being in the city around New York City, Jersey, it can be a little hectic. So I think I was a little, I was just a little unfamiliar with it, I guess, the first time around a few years ago. And now I just feel more comfortable when I'm on site here, just like going back to, other tour events, first year on tour, it was tough, learning all the places. And then, second year on tour, you feel more comfortable. And this kind of how this feels this week. Played here a few years ago. That was my first time. And now I'm back and feel more comfortable. So looking forward to a fun week.
For sure. Well, I'm just thinking you're 97th in the rankings right now. You got to the Northern Trust the last couple of years, 2019, 2020, you finished 73rd. So you're 3 spots out of the BMW. What's the mentality as a chaser trying to get inside that top 70?
Yeah, I need to have a really good week. So I can't really, hold back or play conservatively. I got to go out and be aggressive. Probably figure I need something like a top 10 or a top 15 to move on to next week. But the mentality doesn't change. I'm going out. You play every week to try and win the tournament, and I think I just keep that mindset this week. And maybe when I have some green light opportunities, really take my chances when I get them. And then maybe when I have some of the longer clubs into the, longer par 3s or par 4s, maybe be a little bit more conservative on some of those longer shots. But maybe when I get some short irons and wedges in my hands, be somewhat aggressive so I can get myself some really good looks. And really nothing to lose this week. I got to have a great week. And I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm playing well. I think I can, post some good scores at this place. I played well up there today. And like I mentioned, I've, playing a few rounds here a few years ago is definitely beneficial. Playing the place in tournament conditions and understanding what it kind of takes around this place. So I think you just got to, hang, be loose with it, go out and have some fun and be aggressive.
Yeah, I emailed the PGA Tour communications. Said, okay, what does Denny McCarthy need to do to get through to BMW? And he said, basically, you need to earn 211 points this week or a top 16 finish. So you're pretty close on your
Yep.
guesstimate there.
Yep.
I mean, do you end up? I mean, a couple years you were close there in the playoffs here. You didn't make it BMW, but is it easy to put pressure on yourself to perform this late in the year?
Um, yeah, I mean, maybe this one, maybe a little bit more so, just because next week being Caves Valley, Baltimore, playoff event in Maryland, where I grew up. I would have a big, home crowd next week if I were able to advance. So that's kind of been a goal of mine this year, is to make it to that second playoff event. One, because I've never made it to the second playoff event, and two, just being in Maryland, I think it would be really, really special to be able to tee it up in front of some family and friends. So I can't really think about that. It is on the back of my mind. I think, once the tournament starts, that'll kind of go away, and I'll kind of try and get into my zone where I'm just out there, trying to play some good golf.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned obviously Caves Valley. I got to ask you, like, is there something? I know it's been a while since you played there, but is there anything you can tell the golf audience about that piece of property? They're going to see it on national TV all week next week. Is there anything, I guess, to kind of prepare them for Caves
Yeah, I
Valley?
mean, it's a cool piece of property. I mean, it's a pretty typical northeastish type of golf course. Big golf course. Bent greens, bent fairways. Just a pure northeast golf course. And I don't know if many people think of Maryland as the Northeast. I kind of classify it as a Northeast golf course, but there's a lot of undulation. I remember there being a lot of downhill, uphill shots. There's some water in places. I mean, I'm sure I haven't seen the redo. I haven't played it in probably 7 or 8 years, like I mentioned to you earlier, when we were texting, and so I'd love to go see it. And my brother actually played it 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he told me it was awesome. The redo was fantastic, and so that kind of made me want to get there even a little more, when he told me the place was awesome. So hopefully I can have a great week this week, and then, like I said, tee it up in front of some family and friends.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about Maryland, playing golf in Maryland. I got to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite public courses in Maryland? I know you're a native of the area, so you got to have a couple favorites, I'd imagine.
Public golf courses, or just golf courses in general?
Courses in general. I know you're a member at Argyle. You probably played TPC Potomac a million times. I mean, what
Yep.
what comes to mind?
I'd say, well, not too far from Caves Valley, Baltimore Country Club is probably up there for sure. It's probably my top 2 or 3 in Maryland. Woodmont, where I play the sectional qualifier, the last 4 or 5 years, that place is awesome. Columbia Country Club is great. That's always been a fun one for me growing up. Working with Bobby Dolan, when I was growing up, and Mr. Dolan's been a great mentor to me throughout my career, and so Columbia has always been a special place for me. And obviously Argyle, growing up there, I like to call that, we kind of joke, I like to call it the home of golf. That's kind of like my second, it's like my second home, really, growing up at Argyle. So I definitely say that, Argyle is a special place in my heart. And then, my couple other favorites are BCC, Woodmont, and Columbia.
There we go. Top 4 there.
Yep.
Well, hey, we've seen so much right now, and it's the summertime, and we've seen you at Greensboro play in the heat and talking about using baby powder in your glove. Like, how have you discovered that?
It was brutal last week. I sweat a lot to begin with, and then, I mean, it was probably 95, 100 degrees 3 of the 4 days, and just I mean, humid. You couldn't believe how humid it was. Not much air moving. And I was just sweating a ton. I discovered this baby powder trick a few years ago on really hot weeks. Just my hands sweat a lot. My glove gets really sweaty, and just, I've used baby powder in like my shoes before to kind of dry them out. So I discovered this trick where I just pour a little baby powder in my glove before, a few shots here and there, and just kind of soaks up a little of the moisture and kind of makes it a little more dry, and just so my hands don't get so sweaty. So that was a nice trick, just putting ice on my hands, just kind of cooling, ice on my neck, ice on my forehead, ice on my wrist, just a couple little things here and there to kind of just try and keep myself dry, at least my hands. That's really the most important part. I don't want my hands slipping off the club. So the baby powder is a nice little trick to the trade, if you will.
Gosh, that's crazy, man. Well, hey, listen, we know you as a great putter. Every weekend golfer, it's hard for us to get out there and get excited about practicing our putting. But what is a good way to make it fun?
I like to just be creative with it. I'm not very mechanical. I use the line on my ball. So I draw a black Sharpie line over the stamping on the side. And, I've always been a pretty good green reader where I see things well, but I read the greens by picking spots. So if I have, a putt that breaks a foot or so, and, I pick something that stands out, whether it's a piece of Poana or, an old ball mark or something, I kind of treat it as an art form where I kind of picture the art of the putt, curving and, just focusing on that spot that I've picked and lining my ball up in that, vicinity of the spot, whether it's at it or maybe a ball or two high of that spot that I picked, and just trying to visualize, where it's going to be rolling at that spot and how it's going to be entering the hole. And so just really good visualization. Like I said, I'm not very mechanical. I've got pretty good touch and feel, and I really utilize that when it comes to putting.
Definitely. Well, I know you said in the past that you're the kind of guy that you like to get to a golf course, play the course, and play golf shots. Not so much just be on the range forever. But I know that you got to be a creature of habit. At a certain point, you have to have a pre-round warm-up routine on the range as you get ready for your competitive round. So what does that typically look like for you, Denny?
So usually I'll get there a couple hours before, get a little workout in, get my body moving, typically eat before that, and then get my body moving for about 20 to 30 minutes before every round. And then, so probably show up to the putting green first, anywhere from, kind of depends, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. I like just under an hour. So the first 20 minutes or so, I'll do my couple simple putting drills, if you will. It's not really any drills, just kind of what I like to do. I like to hit a lot of short putts, lining up my ball, just seeing the ball go in from short distance, and then hit some longer lag putts, get a feel for the speed of the greens that day. So I'll putt for 20 minutes, hit balls for 20-25 minutes, and maybe if I have enough time, hit 5 more minutes worth of putts, and then go to the tee. So I'm already pretty loose when I get out there, just getting in the gym before getting my body moving. I'm already pretty loose before I even get to the putting green. So hit some putts, and then 20-25 minutes worth of balls. Maybe discuss some of the wins and tee shots I'm going to be facing that day, and maybe hit a few of the tee shots early in the round, and then typically end my range session with whatever I'm going to hit off the first tee. So could take one shot, might take 2 or 3, depending on if I didn't like the first one, how the first hole is going to be. If I didn't like the first one, hit another 1 or 2 to feel comfortable with that club before I head to the first tee.
Well, that's you before your round. Let me give you a game situation for us weekend golfers that we need help with as a putter. We may be off to a good start. Maybe we're even or 1 over through 9, but we get to the 10th hole, and let's say we're having what could be a blow up hole. but we set ourselves up. Okay, we got 6 foot left for a double. There are good bogeys out there. There's good par saves out there. But when you really want to make that putt to keep the blood from not going crazy there on your 10th hole, like how do you just kind of visualize that 6 foot? You want to make it right.
Yeah, I think you just, I try and put the same amount of emphasis on any shot. I don't want to, put too much pressure on myself. I need to make this double bogey putt or else I'm going to make triple. I don't really think about that. It's just, I've had a bad hole. I'm going to put some nice energy and focus into this putt, hit a great putt. And, if it doesn't go in, so what? Yeah, I'm probably going to be frustrated, but just continue to go through my same process. Nothing changes. Don't let your mind race. Just realize that it's going to be okay. Golf is not the end. Golf's not the end of the world. One bad hole is not the end of the world. Yes, it might be frustrating and it might suck at that time, but just continue to go through your process. Don't freak out, or don't be, I like to try and use the word unflappable. So I try and be unflappable, or don't let anything bother you. Sometimes I like to show emotion, so sometimes it doesn't always work out, but it helps me keep my emotions in check a little bit. So just stay in the course, knowing, say it's the 10th hole, maybe it's a hard hole. And maybe most guys might be making bogey on it. So if I make this putt, get out of here at the double, I've got some birdie holes coming up and I can take advantage of them after this. So kind of just keeping your mind in a positive frame of mind, and knowing that there's more holes where I can, I have some scoring opportunities coming in.
Definitely. In terms of a good chipping club to use around the green, like should we pick one club and just learn to hit different shots with that club, or are you a big fan of, hey, just have all 3 or 4 wedges?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are different. Like I've played a lot of golf with Chris Kirk lately, and he said he only chips with his 60. Like he grew up only chipping with his 60. He only practices with his 60. So he figures, why not? I'm just going to use my 60 every time I chip. I'm a little different. I like to use, I have a 4 wedge setup. I go 61, 57, 52, and then a 47-degree pitching wedge. I don't chip with my pitching wedge much, and occasionally with my gap wedge. Maybe if I have like a longer chip where I have a lot of green to work with, I'll use my gap wedge. But most of the time chipping with my 61 degree or 57 degree, just kind of depending on the length. Same thing with the bunkers. If I have a short-sided bunker shot, most likely using my 61 degree. If I have a medium to longer bunker shot, I'll probably use my 57 degree. I like to be creative with it. It's just something I've always done. I see multiple shots with different clubs, and it's something that I grew up just chipping around at Argyle, playing games with buddies. I always was chipping around using different clubs, and there's no reason to change. I practice with all my wedges, hitting different types of chip shots with the different wedges, and so it gives you some room for creativity out there. You can picture whatever the shot that I hit a 57 or 52 with. I could use a 60. I could fly a 60 all the way to the hole and maybe spin it a little more, but maybe the 57 or the 52 is more of a high percentage play. Or maybe if my lie is really tight or into the grain or something, 60 might not be the best. And then I revert to my 57 degree or 52 degree. It just kind of depends on the situation and, what kind of shots in front of me.
Yeah, adapting for sure, and being unflappable, as you like to talk about. Want to end with a couple good stories here. I know you're not far. You're in New York. You're not far from Bethpage Black. And tell us a story. 10 years ago, something like that. You're in high school and you go out to Bethpage Black and you sleep in your car the night before. I mean, you're so excited to get out there. But tell us a story.
Yeah, it was my brother and I, and probably I think we had 2 groups that day. Might have been might have been two groups of three or two groups of four. We had 6 or 8 guys, couple different cars. Uh, drove up on the 3rd, I believe, July 3rd. Um, had a little. They have some like old grills in the parking lot of Bethpage Black, so we grilled up some like hot dogs and hamburgers, and like we threw around the football in the parking lot. So we basically just hung out in the parking lot, played music, like just having a great time.
Sounds like a bachelor party.
Couple guys slept on top of the cars, couple guys slept in the cars, couple people slept in the trunk. Like we were just having a good time. It was fun. And then we basically walked out to we were the first two groups. I want to say probably 6:20, 6:30 in the morning, maybe 6:30 and 6:45, something like that. We were the first two groups walking. And it was, I mean, a beast of a golf course. The rough was thick. I don't think I drove it very well. I want to say I drove it in the rough a ton. My body wasn't moving very well from sleeping in the car the night before. So body wasn't moving well. I didn't hit it great, but I want to say I scrounged out a decent score that day. And but that was a lot of fun playing Bethpage Black on July 4th. It was a really cool experience.
Definitely. Well, hey, and I know there was an experience you had during the beginning of COVID. You're over there at Medalist in Florida, kind of where you live. And there was a day where you show up to the golf course, you weren't going to really play. You're just practicing, feeling a little lazy, lethargic. And then you run into Fowler and you run into JT. And next thing you know, you're playing with Tiger Woods, your first time ever. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a pretty surreal day. It was, I want to say 3 weeks into COVID. So, you know, the players got canceled, and then maybe that was mid-March, and I want to say it was maybe the first or second week of April. You know, I was bored, so I was playing most days with some other guys, just playing games 4 or 5 times a week. Really only because golf was one of the only things you could do really at that time. So it was nice to get outside and be playing. But yeah, you said it. I went up there one day and didn't have a game lined up. Had worked out that morning. I was tired. I was really getting ready to leave. Honestly, I was just like not really feeling, you know, being up there that day. And Ricky and JT showed up, and I know them pretty well. And they said they hadn't played in 2 or 3 weeks. They took some time off, and they were just going to go play some holes. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go play some holes with you guys. And we started hitting balls on the range. Next thing I know, it's just us three, and then Tiger showed up and just dropped his clubs like right next to me on the range, and starting to put 2 and 2 together. It's only the 4 of us on the range. They said they were going to play, and I'm starting to realize that, you know, they were planning on playing with Tiger, and I'm kind of crashing their group. And all of a sudden I got a wave of adrenaline. I wasn't feeling so lethargic anymore. I was energized, amped up. I was ready to go. I was nervous. For
he
sure.
was still reigning Masters champ at that moment.
Correct. And it was, I made some nervy pars on 1 and 2. I think I got up and down from the bunker on 1 and 2. Birdied 3 and 4, and then I stuffed one on 9, and we weren't really keeping score. Everyone had their own cart. It was COVID rules, so we're all just zipping around, not really playing a game, just kind of messing around, just playing around the golf, which probably helped me. It probably calmed me a little bit that we weren't playing a big money game or something. But I stuffed a 9-iron on 9, and all of a sudden I look back, I was like, man, what did I shoot that side? And I go back, I'm like, okay, I shot 5 under that side. That was pretty good. And then I turned and birdied 10, 11, 13, and all of a sudden 8 under through 13.
That's crazy.
And playing the Tiger tees, which is an extra set of tees a little farther back than,
of course,
than the normal tees. So we're playing the Tiger tees, playing with Tiger. 8 under through 13. All of a sudden I started thinking about it a little more, and I think I made the closing holes coming into Medalist are pretty hard. not many birdie holes. You can make some birdies, but they're some of the harder holes on the course. I think I made a birdie and a bogey coming in to shoot 8 under, but it was a pretty awesome day. Tiger that was the first time I ever played with him. Hopefully I get to play with him again. Hopefully he's doing all right. But I can say that I've played with him now, and hopefully if I ever get paired with him in a tournament, I'm more prepared for that situation now.
Did he say anything to you after that, after you lit it up in this group, or
No,
not really?
because it was just like so nonchalant. We were playing so fast. I mean, I'm sure they knew that I, made a bunch of birdies. So I don't think they were adding up my score like I was. But yeah, it was a pretty fun day.
Well, Danny, great hanging out here on Beyond the Clubhouse, and enjoy this week at Northern Trust. Good luck in the playoffs, man.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it.